Good morning, everyone. This is Clara with Card Stamping with Clara, coming to you from North Carolina. It's Friday morning. I'm running just a tad behind this week. I usually try to get up the videos. The goal is for Friday, but I usually can get them up by Thursday night, and I wasn't able to do it this week because of some other things going on. But nevertheless, here I am, and I have made some cards this week, and I'd like to share them with you. The card that we're going to be featuring today is this this card that you could probably send to someone that's getting married, a wedding card. It's got Mr. and Mrs. stamped on top. It's done in the Pear Pizzazz color. I've used an embossing folder, and I've used some of the small dotted DSP from the Subtles collection. And I have a Pear Pizzazz ribbon, and then on the inside it says, "May your love grow sweeter with every passing year." So I wanted to show you how I got this card, and I'm going to show you the sets and the things that I used to make it. The stamp set is this piece of cake stamp set. And it's really more geared around birthdays than it is weddings. But as you can see, the cakes have pretty flowers on them. And here's another one that would pass for a wedding cake. And then it's got a couple of those sentiments too. But there's lots of different sentiments on here. And I'll be reading some of them out of the card. But this is a photopolymer stamp set. And it has a coordinating punch. I'm going to lay this over and show you the punch now. This is the cake builder punch, and I've scuffed mine up a little bit using it, but you can cut out the cake stand in this direction, and then they have the cake in the opposite. I'm sure it's just for the way of cutting it out, but as I have mentioned before, when you cut these things out, always be sure to look at the side that's cutting so you can see how to line everything up. So that's the cake builder punch. I also used on this one a embossing folder. It's a country floral embossing folder that I obtained during celebration, but you can use any kind of embossing folder that you would like. There's innumerable options in the catalog. I also have used my favorite Stitch Labels framelit dies again. That same big pretty framelit that I showed you last week. You'd never know I like that one, but anyway, I thought it looked pretty on this. And also we have a little punch called the Detailed, let's see, Trio. I wrote this down because I knew I'd say it wrong. Detailed Trio punch. And I used this little flower in the corner on the inside. So it's a real handy little punch that I've enjoyed using a lot too. So those are the items that I used to make this card. You don't have to use all of them. You certainly can, or you could use part of them. I also made another card that we're not going to make today, but it's similar. It's got Mr. and Mrs. at the top. It's got a cake with a little dome that actually I cut from a oval framelit, and kind of made my own dome out of that one. And we have some of the floral DSP, and the same thing, "May your love grow sweeter with every passing year." So that's another option for a wedding card. Most of these are going to be happy birthday today because it is mostly a happy birthday set. This one I thought was cute, the little sentiment on it. It says, "Count the good times, not the candles." And that kind of explains why all these candles are everywhere at the top. And this says, "Happy birthday." I used the Coastal Cabana and a coordinating DSP with that. I used a part of the woven linen ribbon, I guess you would call it. And then I stamped some candles on the inside. So that was another option. This one, I used Gorgeous Grape and Highland Heather as the two main colors, and used a little piece of DSP. And cake is the answer. Happy birthday, enjoy every crumb. So that's an option. This one I did a little bit different. I cut the dome. I had a different dome die, but I cut the die out. I didn't cut the die out. I cut the dome out using the die, excuse me. And I used the champagne foil, and then I ran it through the subtle embossing folder, which gave it, I like this texture, the look. It's not overwhelming, but it just adds some texture. This pretty pink would be nice for a female. Happy birthday. Hope this year is a piece of cake. So there's an option. This one is cut from the Broadway birthday coordinated set. This is where this DSP came from. And it says, count the good times, not the candles. There again. So that's why I used these mini candles. I used Poppy Parade, which I have really, really grown to love as my color for the background. And also this coordinating ribbon. Used some gold foil in behind the label. This is the Pretty Punch label, in case you're wondering. And it just says happy birthday, a couple little candles down in the bottom. That little stamp will stamp that many birthday candles at one time. So it kind of gives you an idea of what that would look like. And this too came from that same set. This is the Lemon Lime Twist color with the lovely lipstick color. And that's how I coordinated that. And then with the rectangular framelets, and this is cut from a punch. It says, cut the cake and enjoy every crumb. So, and the last one is, it just says, happy birthday, with the cake on the outside with a little different design, and hope this year's piece of cake with a little flower down at the bottom. So, hopefully that will give you some ideas. By all means, remember, you can use any color, any combination of things that you like, but that gives you an idea of what you could do with it. And sometimes, you know, you can do lots of other things too. It's not like there's only one way to make a card. Got my little bag here again today, and I'll show you what I'm going to use to make this. I've prepared everything ahead of time there again because it just saves time. The mundane task that you probably don't care to watch me do. So, all right, we're going to start with the card base, and it is Whisper White cardstock. It's the thick Whisper White cardstock. It is 5.5 inches by 8.5 inches. Scored at 4.25 inches. And I always remember that even though I give you these measurements, or I try to give them to you when I'm making the card, all this information will be on my website. When I put up the video, I will put up this information too, and you will be able to access it by clicking down below the video where it says more. It gives you different options of things that you can get information on, or places that you can see the card and what have you. So don't forget that. So that's the card base. Inside the card is this May Your Love Grow Sweeter with Every Passing Year. I went ahead and stamped that. Took the trio punch. And let me show you how easy this is. You just slide it in like this, and then you would use the bottom of your hand like that over the top of it to punch it out, and then you just rotate it. That's all you do. So this is a nice punch to have, and it also will make just a little round hole, and it will round your corners, and that's why it's called the trio punch. So that'll give you a little look at something maybe that you haven't seen before. The next thing that I'm going to be using for this card is the first layer that goes on to the card base is a piece of pear pizzazz. It is 4 inches by 5 1/4 inches. That leaves a little border around the edge, which picks up the white in the dotted piece here. This small dotted piece is also coordinated with the pear pizzazz, and it is from the Subtle 6x6 DSP set, and it is 1.5 inches by 5 inches, and it will go on this side in the end. And this is the piece that I had cut from a sheet that I had embossed from the embossing folder. And remember, if you use whatever embossing folders, but if it's one of these thick ones, like the one I have here today, and I'll pull it back over so you can kind of see, it is thick, and it's called a dynamic embossing folder. What you can do is just spritz your paper with a fine mist of water, and then you can run it through and you get these nice deep embossing images. It took me a while to figure out. I mean, it'll also, if you don't spritz it with a little bit of water or some kind of shimmer or something that gives a little moisture to it, it will possibly tear your paper instead of it giving and making the pretty images for you. So that's a 1.5 inch. This one, I don't know if I told you or not, this one is 2 1/4. I hope I said that right, but it's 2 1/4 by 5. This one is 1.5 by 5. Sometimes I reverse things, so forgive me, please. This is the pretty label that came from the die set here called Stitched Labels Framelits dies. And I stamped the cake image from that first photopolymer label stamp set that I showed you, and I stamped it in the pear pizzazz. I stamped the Mr. and Mrs. once I put the cake on the stamp or on the label. Otherwise, you're going to have a hard time lining this up. So basically what I did was I cut out the base, the silver or foil cake stand, and I positioned it where I wanted it. Then I took the cake and made sure that it was level and placed it on this, and watching from side to side how much is hanging out makes a difference as to how good your image looks on there. And then once I got that glued on, then I took the stamp and stamped on Mr. and Mrs. So that's the step. You start with the base, and after you've cut out the cake, after you've stamped it on the Whisper White and cut it out with the punch, then you put it on next, and then you put on the Mr. and Mrs. So I didn't want you to wonder how I did that. And I have got a ribbon and a piece of ribbon and a bow to go on it when we finish up. So let's glue this thing together and see what we've got when we get finished. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to glue on this piece to the base, which is the pear pizzazz. So let me get a little bit of glue here. And I will suggest to you that sometimes you have to be really careful and get enough glue, not near the edges especially, but down in those places, because you're gluing a very uneven piece of paper to a flat piece of paper. So you want it to hold. I just put a little bit out towards the corners. You don't want those to curl up. Just not overdo it. Like I've said before, the more glue you get out there, the more you got to clean up. So I'm just going to eyeball this the very best I can and get it started. Then I will pick this up where I can see it a little bit better. There we go. Now then, and press it down really good once you get it put where you're satisfied. Okay, and once you get that piece on, the other one goes on real easy. Per usual, I get glue on my hands somehow or other. I don't know how, but I do. All right, the next piece, and you might be interested, on the opposite side of the dotted DSP is the striped. And, you know, you can make it vertical or horizontal or however you want to. But in this case, we're going to use the dotted because I kind of like that a little bit better for this card. Somebody else might prefer the stripes, and that's fine too. Just remember, card making is going to express your personality and what you like, and not necessarily the colors and things that I like, which is okay. The whole point of this is just to give you ideas and to help you get started. Okay. What I'm doing is I'm lining it up right next to the white piece, and that way everything else should line up good. If everything's cut straight, you won't have any problems. And I believe we're going to be all right on that. Now then, I'm going to take the ribbon, and this is metallic pear pizzazz, or shimmer, I think it's called shimmer. I won't call it metallic, but I just want to make sure that I've got it turned. There's not much difference in this one, but sometimes there is a little bit of difference. And what I'm doing is I'm laying this ribbon over the seam just to give it a better appearance. Taking a little piece of tape and taping it down on the back. Then I'm going to pull it snug, just like that. And I will turn it over and put another little piece of tape there. Okay. Now then, the next thing I'm going to do, and we'll just leave that like it is for right now, and I'm going to glue this piece to the card base. Let me slide that out a little bit. I think I'm getting kind of low in this glue, and I kind of have to shake it down a little bit. And I do put glue right across where the ribbon is taped and the little edges that are sticking out, so it'll all glue into place and will help to hold that ribbon where I want it. All right. See what I've got here. It needs to be moved over just a tad at the bottom. Sometimes when you start moving, it goes further than you want it to. Okay, I think that looks right good. So we'll carefully smooth that down. All right. All right, that's on the card base. So probably the best thing to do is go ahead and put the inside sentiment in like that. What's nice about this trio punch is that if you have like a white color underneath, you can see how pretty it looks shining through a darker color. And I used a lot of green on this one, and as my family knows, I like green. Usually I lean towards, you know, brighter, darker greens, you know, Christmas green, but that wouldn't be very appropriate, I don't guess, for this time of the year. me see. When I went around, I tried not to get too much glue where those little punched out areas are. But yet I wanted to put a little bit around it so that it would adhere without curling up. I didn't want a lot of glue gushing out in these little areas. So you can see how pretty they look. At least I think they do. There again, that's my personal opinion. All right. We're almost finished here. Take the label. I'm going to put dimensionals on the back of this. And if any of you have not seen dimensionals, they're little foamy pieces of sticky substances, foam, that just lift your labels and whatever you want to put them on up off the card just a little bit. Just adds a little dimension. I like to use them. I see that I have one. Look here. It is so easy to do this. When I cleaned this, I thought I had all these little pieces out. You see that one right there? Now, if I had not seen that and I had glued it down to my card, I would have had a mess and it wouldn't have looked very nice. So I'm glad I saw that. Once in a while you can pick up things like that when you're, you know, starting to put them down at the last, sort of at the 11th hour. I caught that one. It's just easy to do. Okay. Now, I'm going to try to position this one up a little bit from the bottom. I just thought that looked a little bit better. And I'm going to try to position this label over the ribbon, and those dimensionals will help to hold the ribbon in place too. So sometimes I use a little glue dot down underneath. I think I did on the other one, but that's okay. You don't have to do that. We're going to use a glue dot to put this on. This little bow that I tied, we'll kind of place it off to the side. As you can see, I left the tails kind of long, and you know, if they're wanting to go a little further to the side than you want, you can just hold the whole center of the bow and work them back. And I'm going to take my scissors and cut them here at an angle. I have one pair of scissors here that's, I think, got buried. Yeah, there we go. I'm going to take, that I'll leave this little cover on that is especially for ribbon cutting, because if you got a dull pair of scissors, you're not probably going to have a really good job, but that's why I leave those, and they're so handy for that. You just hold the ribbon between your finger and your thumb and cut back in that direction, and it gives it that pretty little, I think they call it a fish tail. Now, I think that will work. I wanted to make sure that it wasn't too long. I don't think this one is as long. I mean, I think this one's a little longer than the first one, and they don't have to be exact, but you don't want them hanging off the side of your paper either, your card. All right, got a roll of glue dots here. They're just tiny little sticky dots, that's what they are. I put one on the back of the bow. Then I'm going to put one to each side just to hold it where I want it. And sometimes I even put one down underneath to hold those tails. I hope that, you know, it'll be okay where they go. We'll see. If not, I'll raise them up and Stick another one down there. And to say the least, these little things are very, very sticky. Okay. Just remember, if green is not your favorite color, pick another color that you like and coordinate it in a similar way. And, you know, whatever suits your personality. Okay. When I get that done, I might take, I'm just going to use my little tweezers. Just anything that you can kind of fluff up your bow a little bit. And there you go. It's not a hard card to make. As you'll find, I'm a simple person. I make simple cards. So there you go. That's all done. And if you've got some weddings to recognize, it makes, you know, you can make several and send them to a lot of people. I would mention that I have a host code here. Sometimes I forget to do it, but if you spend less than $150, please use that host code. If you don't have a demonstrator, I'd appreciate your business. Certainly, you know, I'm looking for new customers, people that are learning, and I don't want anybody else's customers, but I would love to have some people that are interested in this same craft, and I would be glad to help you in any way I can. Very soon now, we're going to have some of these products will no longer be available. There's, if you'll go to the website and click on the store, you can look and see what items are retiring. We haven't got the PDF on the new catalog yet as demonstrators to do a pre-order for you folks, but basically it'll be coming soon, and then you'll be able to see some of the products. There's a few products out there now, people that were able to go to the on-stage event. They did acquire some of the products. So you may see some new ones out there from them. But mine will be coming soon, and I hope you enjoy seeing the new products and the new catalog that will be good for an entire year, which I say hooray, hooray, because it just gives you time to, you know, to have the products available for more than, you know, a few weeks. So if there's anything I can help you with, I would appreciate you to just give me a email on my website where it says contact. Just send me an email. I have a blog there. We feature one card a week, and this being the card. Try to keep you up to date on as many things as possible on my blog. That is, you will see it on the home page of the website where to click for the blog. And I hope you've had a wonderful week. I hope you have another wonderful week. And the good Lord willing, I'll be back in a week with some more cards. So the good Lord bless you and keep you. And thank you for your time. And we'll see you next week.